Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the weekend. Welcome into the best damn pod in the land. I have Terry T back. Terry, thanks for coming back on the show. As promised, we talked about getting into the too deep this week. But of course, as we joked last week, there would probably be other news. So before we get into that, though, Terry, how are you? What's new? How's things?
I'm doing good, man. I know we were talking a little bit before the show. It's kind of been a crazy morning, a lot of stuff going on. But hey, listen, that's what life's all about. It's all about stuff, and it's all
Yeah.
about dealing with stuff. So we're
Yeah.
dealing with it, man, and we're here. So I'm happy to be here, bro. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I mean, it can't get any better because we're national champions.
Hey, is that your
Commemorative
commemorative
ticket.
ticket? Yeah,
Yeah.
I seen that. I seen that on Twitter. I was like, oh, that's sweet. I actually sent that to my little Buckeye group chat we got on Twitter. When I seen it on there, I'm like, check this out.
Yeah. Yep. So I can't. I think the alumni association sent me an email and said, "Hey, you can buy these," and it wasn't too bad. I think it was like $15. It wasn't. And then the cool
Nice.
thing was you could put your section and seat number, and so I actually put the section and seat number that I sit in when we go to the games on my ticket. So I was like, "Hey, that's pretty fun."
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Dude, listen,
So
before we go on, bro, I love
yeah.
your hat, dude. Your hat is
Oh.
so sweet. That is
Uh.
sweet, dude.
So I'm not a fitted hat guy. I actually had to go get like measured to find. I don't think I've owned a fitted hat in 20 years,
Yeah.
and this came out, and I was like, gosh, I love it so much. And it has the script Ohio on the back, and then it has the like the block O on the
Uh
side.
huh. Yep,
And I
I
was
see
like,
it.
gosh, I gotta have that. So I got it from I think it's 47. I think or New Era. It's New Era. I see
Yeah.
it on the side. New Era. Whoop, other
Mm-hmm.
side. Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sweet, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice it. We were talking before, but just until now, I'm like, oh, that thing is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I got in trouble because I'm not supposed to buy new hats. My wife gets mad at all my hats, but So speaking of getting in trouble, um, what kind of trouble are we in with Matt Patricia, man? Like I love the hire, but I want to get your take before we like get too far into
Yeah.
Matt P land.
I mean, dude, you're talking about trouble. I love the hire, dude. I think
Yeah.
it's great. Like the one thing I said, and we talked about this just last week, is I want an NFL guy, and I don't want them to hire someone with the intentions of trying to keep Knowles' scheme without Jim Knowles being around. And honestly, if they want to do a lot of the stuff that Knowles did, I'm okay with that as long as you have somebody like Matt Patricia there who basically what I know is not going to happen now is we're not going to try to run Jim Knowles' scheme but have a bunch of holes in it because the guys don't know all the answers.
Right.
Patricia is gonna know. He's gonna look at this defense and be like, "Well, wait, right here's your holes in your defense. This is how this is what you need to do." And a lot of people have. There's been a lot of ups and downs, I guess, with the fan base with this hire. But to me, I just don't understand that, man. You got a guy who called plays in the Super Bowl for 3 Super Bowls. One of the Super Bowls, I just went back and watched it the other day. Does anybody remember the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history? The 28-3 or whatever
That
it
was the
was.
Falcons, right? And the
The
Patriots.
Falcons versus the Patriots. That was Matt Patricia. That second half when they didn't hardly give up, they didn't give up no points and they came back and beat them. That was Matt Patricia. And I get they have Bill Belichick, but like, I mean, the way that works, dude, is you look at guys like Kirby Smart. What was Kirby Smart doing when he was at Alabama? He was calling Nick Saban's defense.
Right.
And then he goes and leaves Alabama and he goes and becomes a head coach. And his defense has been phenomenal at Georgia. And now whoever's his defensive coordinator is running his defense. But you can't tell me that Ohio State fans wouldn't have been happy if they got that notification that Ohio State hired Glenn Schumann.
Right.
Even though he's running, I don't know, man. I
It's
think
the
it's a great
same.
hire.
It's the same thing we said last week about them promoting Brian Hartline, man. No, you're never going to make everybody happy. So if Texas A&M hired Brian Hartline, they'd be ecstatic because it's Brian Hartline. But
Exactly.
the Matty P hire. So I had listened to a couple of his more recent outings, and he looks great. He looks healthy. He looks more.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks better. But he sounds better, and I know that. My take on it was, maybe he thought he could get away with acting like Belichick, but he's not Belichick.
Yeah.
Only Bill Belichick can act like Bill Belichick. And I know things didn't go well in Detroit for him, and that would make anybody mad. But the one thing, you know this, and I know this about Bill Belichick, and then because Patricia learned from him, he's going to find that one thing you do well, and then take away that one thing, and make you beat us in another way. And I like that because I feel like that's what Jeff Halfley did really well too. And so that's exciting for me because in the past, especially the Oregon game, I felt like the first Oregon game, I felt like, what are we doing? Because we're not stopping that one thing that they're doing really well, and those were the deep shots.
Can I ask you a question, Chad?
Yeah,
Did you watch the interview with Denzel Burke with
I
Chimpi
did.
Chekwa?
Yeah,
Okay. That interview is crazy. Listen, anybody watching this, if you haven't watched that interview, go watch it because Denzel kind of gives you an eye into like basically what was going on with this team throughout the year, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like you'd be like, "Wow, really? They kind of dealt with all this."
yeah,
And I mean, from the sounds of it, dude, like Denzel made me feel better about losing Jim Knowles
yeah,
listening to him because I mean he pretty much kind of put Jim Knowles on the spot and was like he kind of was costing us a little bit, but
yeah.
I mean I don't know. But in terms of Matt Patricia, dude, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chad. I know I interrupted your thought, dude. But
Not at all.
I think just having guys that are just amazing football minds is important, dude. Like Ohio State has Ryan Day, right? We don't worry really about our offense. Like I know our offense was not phenomenal when we had Kyle McCord and all that good stuff, but it was still not bad. Our offense could compete, score
Yeah,
points on anybody, right?
right.
Having those guys that are just like, okay, no matter what set of players that you give me, I'm going to be able to build a formidable offense out of it. Now you have a guy like Matt Patricia who, no matter what set of players that you give him, he's going to be able to build you a formidable defense out of those set of players. And I think that he'll get the most out of guys who probably we wouldn't have seen get the most out of them with someone like Jim Knowles. Because Jim Knowles has a scheme, he has his scheme that he needs to have his players fit into his scheme, and that's okay. Like a lot of defensive coordinators are like that.
Yeah,
But Matt Patricia is not like that because the Patriots were not like that. The Patriots, they got a bunch of different players and they were successful every single year. Their defense was always good. So I'm looking at guys like Malik Hartford, guys like, dare I say it? I know this is like whatever, CJ Hicks. I'm looking at guys like that I feel like Matt Patricia. Listen. I'm not gonna dive off the deep end for CJ Hicks this year like I did last year. It's fine.
Okay.
I won't do it. But again, with guys like that, I think that Matt Patricia can give them a role on this team, to where they can be really good, successful players and be contributors. So I don't know, man. I love the hire, dude. I'm super excited about it for real, myself.
Well, I want to carry off two things. Firstly, the Knowles thing and the interview that with Burke. Burke's never been shy about saying anything.
No.
Emily Gates actually is the one that like was, hey, you really need to watch this. And I had already started watching it. I think I got interrupted, but I finished it. But the Knowles thing. So let me remind people of two things. The Oklahoma State defense that he had in top 5 in the country, he had 4th and 5th year starters.
Yep.
That understood the team or the defense. It took Caleb Downs, 4th year Jordan Hancock, and 5th year Lathan Ransom to hold that down. So it took a generational safety transfer and a 4th year and a 5th year starter to hold that down.
Cody Simon too.
Yeah, Cody Simon I'm just saying, like for the secondary, a 4th year starter in Denzel Burke, who had played 50 some games, and then Igbinosun, who had already played 36 games. So took a lot to hold that down, and a 5th year starter in Cody Simon, and then all 4-year, what is it? I think all 4-year starters except for Edric Houston on the defensive line. So it took a lot, and that's just talent. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to digress into the Knowles thing, but I did some thinking on it. Like, what did it really take for them? Because it certainly wasn't the Tanner McAllister year. And he came from Oklahoma State.
Exactly. And then if you're going to talk a little bit about Knowles, like the perception of the Ohio State defense under Jim Knowles before that playoff stretch was like, I mean, like really bad. I mean,
Yeah.
every big game they were giving up a ton of points. And again, I'm not trying to bash on Jim Knowles. I don't,
No,
whatever. Like,
me either.
it is what it is. Like, he did come here, immediately make the defense better, which of course he did. I mean, they had people who were never DCs before running it before.
Right.
They were just kind of winging it. But I'm just not like, oh my gosh, we lost Jim Knowles. It's never going to work. I think that they have like a superstar staff on defense right now.
Yeah.
And then when you add a guy like Matt Patricia, who just has that defensive mind where he can basically just take whatever that they want to do and just make it a little bit better, make it a little more sound, make it, make the even technique, stuff like that, just a little bit better because he's coming from the NFL. I think that it's going to work. I think it's going to work really well.
I actually think too, this bodes well for some of the players that stuck around. So Peyton Pierce and some of these other guys at the linebacker position, because I think we'll be seeing more 3 linebackers than we have in the past too. So there's definitely positives with it. I think the coolest thing about him is the dude's like a rocket scientist.
That's crazy.
Is like crazy smart. But I don't think he's going to have to do a ton of recruiting, but the biggest piece that I noticed about Ryan Day and his growth is the promotion of OG Walt. People, the kids love Walt. They love Coach Key. Same thing. Coach Key gets promoted. Walt gets promoted. And that's where those relationships are. And Matty G got promoted too. That's probably a money thing. But, the kids, the players love Walt. And how smart is that? So you get a kind of a gruff guy that knows football in Matt Patricia, but you get the relational guy or guys in OG Walt and Matty G. So I like it. I like the hire. I know what else is new? Our fan base is divided. We're the second most spoiled fan base in college football. So behind Alabama.
Expectations come with that.
So yeah, you better
We're
believe it,
be
man.
Divided, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of. I joked the other day. It's kind of like being the president when you're the head coach of Ohio State because it ages you. And but all of a sudden, Ryan Day looks 30 years younger. So I don't know. I guess you win a natty and you feel younger. I guess I don't know.
And I was gonna say something, Chad, because you mentioned before about Matthew Patricia like looking great, losing weight. Yep. Listen, if you're someone who's been heavy in your life, then you know that is a big difference with everything in your life.
Oh, okay.
Like I guarantee you that from the time he was at the Patriots to now, with him being in better shape, he's probably more confident. He's probably happier. He's probably again, it makes a big difference. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you lose some weight, you start to feel better. You start to feel more confident. You start to do better at your job. You start to do better at just every little aspect in your life. So I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm excited about Matt Patricia. I'm excited for skinny Matt.
Yep. I agree with you, man. I'm on a health journey. I got a not so good, report in December from my doctor, and I started going to the gym and just doing some elliptical and lifting some weights, and wife's helping me eat a little better, so it does make you feel better. Like I feel peppier,
Yeah. And you'll notice that in like everything in your life, dude. Like right now, I'm on the same way. Like I'm on a journey, but I've been up and down. Like I've lost a bunch of weight, I've gained some weight, whatever, ups and downs in life and stuff. But just when you do lose that weight and you start to just feel more healthy, it just helps everything in your life. And again, I'm relating this back to Matt Patricia. I don't know shit about Matt Patricia in terms of, sorry for my language.
Yeah,
I don't know nothing about Matt Patricia in terms of like in that aspect, but I just know that even looking at a guy like Ryan Day did the same thing this year. Ryan Day lost weight. Ryan Day,
he did. To look
healthier,
you're right,
and happier and more confident, and he won a national championship. So,
yes, sir. Well, we promised something, so we're going to deliver on it. Terry and I started talking about the 2 deep. So I have. Whoop, that's the wrong one. Where did the other one go? I love this when I'm trying to do this, and there it is. And I'm used to having 2 screens, and I only have one in my studio right now because, thank you to my son, a football landed in the middle of it and it broke. So, that's all right. It's all right. We were just goofing around. So,
yeah, no, you're good.
So let's start on offense, Terry. So I know I made some notes on mine, but what if anything jumped out at you? I know for me, I think I even talked last week. We talked last week that I thought maybe I answered. Oh, I guess it was Tuesday. I answered Emily that I thought maybe, depending on the way that the depth lined up, Quincy Porter might see the field a little earlier than people expect. But what are your thoughts around the wide receiver room? We'll start there.
Yeah, I mean the thing with the wide receiver room, dude, is like looking at the chart you have right here. I mean, your starters are definitely right. Like it's going to be Jeremiah, Carnell, and Ennis. And then the question just becomes like, of the next three, which I mean, I think you have the next three right here: Bryson Rogers, Mylan Graham, and Quincy Porter. Which one of them guys does Heartline feel is like really ready? Because I personally think that Mylan Graham is going to be ready. I think that
Okay.
he's going to be ready to go. But also, like they were playing Bryson Rogers early last year, and he does show some promise with like his route running and whatnot. Quincy Porter, I just got to see it. You know what I mean? Like I think the kid's a freak, and I think that he's going to be really good. He could contribute early, but we just got to see how he comes in and adjusts to kind of just learning the offense and stuff. Because even looking at a guy like Jeremiah Smith, if you look at him early in the year, Jeremiah was messing up a lot. Not
Yep.
like messing up on catching the ball or whatever, but he was messing up on like little nuanced things where like Will Howard would look like Will Howard threw a bad ball because JJ was a little bit off on his route and where he was supposed to be, stuff like that.
Or he
So
outran the ball.
or he outran him, which I
Yeah.
mean,
He didn't pace it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. So my guy really, you hit the hammer on the head. I think Mylan Graham's the first one up. I think that he's probably the. I think it's between him and Bryson Rogers initially. And the one person I probably shouldn't have left off. I just don't know if he's going to be ready as Reese Stocksdale. So again, he'll be in there with David Adolph for that Z position, but. I don't know where he is at with his knee. I know he was close,
yeah,
but then I'm with you. But the one thing that's an outlier here, and I didn't include him in the tight end room, is Demarion Witten. So Demarion Witten was working primarily with the wide receivers last spring and in the fall. And so I didn't put him with either. I just made a note that he's not technically a tight end, but he's also not technically a wide receiver. He's like that. He's the G Scott of this group. He's an in betweener. And where do you have him? What do you think? I kind of have him as a Y right now, and maybe he could line up in line. And I know that Chip liked doing some crackbacks with Ennis and Tate in the blocking scheme. So how do you feel about that? What do you think of Demarion Witten? Where's he fit for you?
yeah. I mean, maybe like in at X, like maybe like to back up JJ. I mean,
Okay.
I like that kid a lot. I think he's got a lot of talent. And the good thing about Demarion Witten, right, is G Scott was like a wide receiver when he came in. He was
Correct.
straight expect to be a wide receiver. He switched to tight end.
5-star.
Demarion Witten is listed as a tight end and came here knowing that he is going to be like a tweener tight end wide receiver. So I think that will probably work a little better than the G Scott experiment because they were just waiting on him to be like that full on tight end. We can put you in line to block.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also use you as just because we use any of our other tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that Witten is ever going to be that, which I'm okay with that because I think the kid's super talented. So I mean, plus I mean, he's from Glenville. That's just
That's
another
the pipeline, man.
yeah. I mean, if you got a Glenville kid, like we got to find a way to get him out there and get him
Yeah.
playing. So I hope to see him out there.
Man, Teddy Ginn Sr. He just keeps cranking them out. I have nothing but appreciation for Ted Ginn Sr. So, offensive line, just kind of taking a look at this. So I mentioned this on Tuesday's show. I do it a Q&A Tuesday. So, everybody, or I guess a couple of questions where they were the same question. What's my biggest concern going into 2025? And it's still offensive line depth. And so we bring in Ani Anwa. I think he's your starter at left tackle. I like Luke at left guard to replace Donnie. I'm keeping Hinsman at center. Now there's a lot there, and Integra at right guard. And right now I have Philip Daniels penciled in, but I think where I disagree with my chart or the original layout of this. So this came from our lads. The chart is I have more Deontay Armstrong and Ian Moore competing for that right tackle spot. I don't think long term that Deontay Armstrong is a left tackle. I haven't felt that. Now I haven't seen him since last year, so everything can change. And I also think it would be wise for Ohio State to finally kick Tegra out to tackle and let him compete there, because you have Austin Sareveld. So you have kind of a glump of 3 or 4 or 5 guys there in the middle that can all play that spot. But I didn't be interested to hear what you think, about the depth and where things go from here.
Yeah. I think I agree with you, man, about the Armstrong brother, the one that's a tackle.
Deontay.
Deontay. Yeah. When I seen him, dude, to me, he looks like he's got like the body of like a future NFL tackle. Like he's built like that. And same with Ian Moore, bro. I don't know. I think it's definitely going to be a battle. I don't think that position at right tackle is going to be like promised to Phillip Daniels.
I agree.
Now, can he win it? Maybe he can, and that's cool. I hope he does. You know what I mean? And I kind of want to push back and disagree with you a little bit. I think the depth looks really good. I think that at every single position, if something were to happen and somebody were to get injured, I think we have a guy that can step in and that I would be confident in.
Okay, so if Anianwan goes down game 1, you're confident that we have a left tackle?
Ian Moore, yes. Put Ian Moore out there. Let's go. Now, obviously, that's
man. Okay, you can feel that way.
The way I'm looking at the chat is
the blood just drained down my face, man. Oh my gosh! I don't even want to put that in the universe that would happen.
No, we don't want that. We already dealt with that. Listen,
yeah, no, pass. Thank you. I'm good.
Well, what I meant though is just I think that we have 1 or 2 tackles in our second string that are going to be capable of playing if we need them to.
Okay.
Right? We definitely have 1 or 2 guards because we have 3 guards to fill 2 spots.
Yes.
And then you're looking at center, and I think that Padilla is ready to go. I liked what I saw from him when he got in the game and like for backup reps. He kind of looks like he has a nasty attitude and he's ready to go out there and kill somebody. So I like that from my center. That's kind of what I meant though. Just, when you look at it as tackle, guard, center, I think we have at least a guy in the 2 deep that is playable.
Yeah. So I like Padilla a lot. I think he's your future there. If Carson Hinsman hadn't played as well as he did, I would say that based off what I saw last year and the growth I expect this year, Padilla should start. He reminds me of kind of a throwback offensive lineman. He's just kind of low to the ground, gritty. He's not really like Seth, but I like what I saw of him. That's why I mentioned maybe kicking Tegra out and letting him finally play. Like, he has the size for tackle. Let him compete there, because I think you could go with Luke, Carson, and at one of the guard positions. But yeah, you have Sareveld and Luke and Carson all kind of like jumbled in there together. So there's enough there to fill the middle. I feel like I'm just concerned about the tackle position. One of the questions was around Carter Lowe. Carter's 2 years away, guys, in my opinion. So he's going to need this year, and maybe he can compete next year. No slight to him whatsoever at all. I just think, there's only so many David Sanders, type cats that can, the Orlando Paces that are just ready as freshmen game 1 of the season. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I've watched enough film to believe that I think he probably needs some time in the system. I'll just say it that way. But he's an excellent prospect. Should have been a 5-star.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that our offensive line has enough talent on it where it's not possible for him to be in that rotation or in that mix to start this year.
Right.
If we were going into this year with an offensive line that was looking terrible, then maybe I could see something like that. But I mean, we have older guys on the O-line that have got a ton of experience. Their bodies are all college ready, and you know what I mean. So I don't really think he's going to be in the mix at all. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. Like it doesn't. Even
No.
if he was, even if you get a 5-star tackle, like they don't have to be starting their first year, especially at the offensive line. That's just like it's not really how it works, especially now because people are getting 5th and 6th years of eligibility. So now you're dealing with 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and it's just not you don't have that many years in a college strength training program like those players do. And
Well, can we divert just a second? So
mm-hmm.
NIL has changed things, guys, and this is where it changes things in the depth. So back when I was growing up, and Terry, you're a little younger than me, but even as recently as like 2021, 2022, the expectation was you would have your offensive lineman would probably not be ready until year 3. So he's a redshirt sophomore at that point. So you have a redshirt freshman year, your sophomore year, and then going into that third year, then your expectation was that lineman that you brought in, the Carter Lowe, would be ready to be a starter. Now, this accelerated track, because it's so hard to keep depth, has changed the game so much. And that's why I think people are asking those questions is, you have the guys, the kids' willingness to stick around may not be there. But and I don't know about you, Terry, but in my every year I've done this, and I love, you guys know I love recruiting. I always think, what's his body look like at 21 years old? That's when I believe those guys are, ready to start. Now that is completely changed with NIL. So for my 2 cents for what it's worth.
Yeah, and to be fair, man, Ohio State's done a good job with that, right?
They have.
We're not really losing players.
No.
That I think need one more year to develop, and then they're going to be really good. Like we're losing guys who are just probably not going to ever play here, and that's okay. Like that's what programs have to do,
right?
Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate thing with college football that you get a kid and you might like their personality, blah blah blah, and they may have to go. But as long as we're not losing those guys, it's like, damn, if that guy would have just stayed one more year, he probably would have been a starter and been a future draft pick for Ohio State.
Yep.
And Ryan Day has done a good job of not losing those guys. So
right. I'm just pointing out that the game has changed, and it's caused some people to say, well, what about this guy? So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that where that kind of like argument goes out the door, and where I think it's just super important with being real with your players. It's just like, look, like you are at practice every day. This guy is better than you right now. Like, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean? Like, you want me to play somebody who's not better? So let's say that you were the best. Do you want me to play the not best player at all the other positions so that we lose games? No, that's not how it works. We're out here trying to win games, and we got to play the best player. If you want to play, make sure that you're the best player next year.
Yeah. So. I thought quarterback was pretty straightforward. I do think it's 1-2 saying and Keenholz. You're gonna hear me say this, and I'm gonna continue to say it. I will not be shocked in the least if Ohio State goes out and picks up a grad transfer. You can call it the spring portal window, but I think before summer camp gets here, Ohio State will bring somebody in. I don't expect them to be a starter level caliber anything. It's going to be a Tristan Gebbia, a Chris Chugnoff, somebody that's a little older in that room. And people forget, and I haven't forgotten, that 2019 Michigan game when Fields got hurt, and I was like, well, there goes the natty. Chugnoff comes in and makes one of the best throws, to keep a drive going. And then Fields comes in and throws a dime to Garrett Wilson in the corner of the end zone. So those guys are needed. You can even go back to this year, Michigan State. Ohio State's kind of just hanging around. It's kind of quiet. Michigan State's got a little bit of life. And, Will goes out. Devin comes in, throws a dime to Jeremiah for a touchdown. You need that guy. I'm not saying Keenholz can't be that guy, but I will not be surprised. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, first, just looking at the depth chart you have here, Julian, Keenholz, Tavian, I think that's right. The only way this depth chart is not right, in my opinion, is if Tavian is just a superstar. And I mean, that can happen. And even then, he's only going to end up being QB2. You know what I mean? Like, he's not starting this year. But if he adjusts quick to the college game, he could maybe end up being in that 2 spot. But I mean, in terms of like bringing in a guy, I wouldn't. I think Ryan Day probably wants that because he wants to have four guys. I think he's always kind of said he wants to have four.
Yep.
So yeah, I expect that. Get somebody in here who can kind of work with them younger quarterbacks and let them know what he's seeing and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, but don't be surprised. I just
yeah,
is what I'm telling people. Don't be surprised. The Tavian thing. So I watched. I'm really fortunate. I got to watch every game of his recorded at Bellefontaine from Bellefontaine this year. So like I
that's
was
cool.
fast forwarding through some of it, especially the defense. But um, he's got to have a maturation process with the college game. I think he's everything we want. And I just think it's good. He needs to sit a year. The level of competition, and I'm not saying it was, it's not Division 7, but um, what it's like making that jump from the college to the NFL. Everybody's just better,
Yep.
and so that's where we are, and I'll be excited to see what he does through spring practice and going into the spring showcase and into the fall camp. So,
Yeah.
um,
Same.
running back. So CJ Donaldson, James Peoples. Now I crossed out Turbo Rogers as soon as I found out Sam Williams Dixon was coming back. So originally I thought that spot would be between Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, or Turbo Rogers, whoever. I thought Bo was in line to get the most carries on the team as a third string running back because I put Donaldson and Peoples kind of like Quinshawn and Trey this year. I was like, they're 1A, 1B. So probably Bo or one of those three freshmen were going to get some carries. But now with Sam Williams, Dixon back, where are you at? What do you think?
Yeah, in terms of like the three guy, I think that it. I mean, it's just going to come down to either Bo or I don't listen. One thing I want to say, Chad, and everybody, nobody ever wants to talk about Isaiah West for some reason. I hate like everybody who talks about the running back room. They kind of just skip over him like he doesn't exist, and I hate that. But also I see why because he's like not highly ranked, all that good stuff. But I'm happy that Sam Williams Dixon came back. I mean, there is definitely a chance that one of those freshmen pass him up, though. I mean, that's you know what I mean. So like, I could definitely see like, oh, well, Bo Jackson is our RB3, and then you just kind of see Sam Williams Dixon just kind of be here, do his thing, continue to get better,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe he sticks around because he's a Columbus kid. Maybe he sticks around and he makes an impact later.
He's not actually a
Down.
Columbus kid. He transferred down there, but he
Well,
went to
he's from.
school at
I
West
just know
Holmes
he
High
was.
School.
I just
With,
know he was from Columbus.
yeah, so he
Or
went
not
to West
from,
Holmes
but
High School, which is
yeah.
like 20 minutes from my house. So I saw him play multiple times live. But yeah, anyway, continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. A friend of mine is actually friends with his dad. A friend of mine who lives in Columbus, so that's
Oh
why.
yeah, he transferred down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he might be from Columbus originally, but I know he played up here. I was
Now,
just yeah.
with this list, though, dude, I kind of have a little bit of an issue with it. I think that James Peoples is going to be the clear RB1 in this situation this year.
Yeah.
I think that Peoples will get most of the carries, and I think that CJ Donaldson will be used. Like he will mix in, but I don't know, man. Just watching Peoples, the way that he moves, and kind of like just like the acceleration he has, I think that we have one here. I really
I
do. I
do.
think we
Oh, I
got
agree with
one.
you.
Yeah, I think we really got one, and for CJ Donaldson to get in the mix and kind of split carries like how Trey and Quinshawn did, I think that that would mean that he's going to have to be really good. So if they are splitting carries, I think that like literally like splitting 50-50, they're going to
Yeah.
split some carries. We know that. But if they're splitting 50-50, that means that they think CJ Donaldson is really, really, really good. Because if he's not, I think that James Peoples will kind of be a workhorse back this year because, again, I think we got one.
I expected Donaldson to be a third down or short yardage merchant. That's kind of where I expected him to play. So, not that Peoples can't be a 3 down back because he absolutely could. But when I say split carries, I'm thinking like 65-35, 70-30.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at. Now I thought Locke did a great job of keeping Trey and Q both fed evenly. I mean, they both had over 1,000 yards. They both had almost the same amount of carries. I think Q had more, but but Q was kind of a banger and Trey was that home run hitter. And I think that, I think that's what you could have in the end with Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, like look forecasting down the
Yeah.
road, because I think that Bo has that elite athleticism, and I think I love Isaiah West. I mean, I'm on the OG Isaiah West fan club with Chuck, so I'm not skipping over him for any particular reason. I just think year one as a freshman, I think Bo Jackson probably has a little bit of a leg up just because of the athlete he is,
Yeah.
and that's why
I
I had
agree.
Turbo Rogers in there too. I think he brings something different. He's a different type of back, but again, all three of those guys can play. They're going to Ohio State for a reason, so.
I mean, listen, running back is a position where you can see some freshman impact.
Yes.
Like, again, I hate to keep putting this out there, but we have to since we're talking about the depth chart, right?
Yeah.
God forbid something happened to one of our running backs. We've seen it happen before, right?
Yep.
Like, at that point, one of them freshmen is probably you're a contributor. We
Yep.
need some carries out of you in moments where the game is not out of hand yet. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, gosh, what was it? It was 2023 or 2022 where we had Xavier Johnson was running our running back in the Peach Bowl against Georgia because we were so decimated. It just because I think Chip got dinged up, Tram got dinged up, and then we were just running down the list. Terry, would you mind coming back on Tuesday? We can do defense and special teams. I'm up against it. I have my kid's Valentine's Day party today, so
You're good. Yeah,
I'm
you told me
helping.
that beforehand, brother. You're good.
Yeah.
I can come
Well, I
back
just want
whenever, man.
everybody to know I'm not just like ending the show.
Yeah.
I'm serving and providing snack for my son's first grade Valentine's Day party. So I got to get in a car and get going to his school. But do you want to come back Tuesday and we'll do the defense and special teams?
Let's do it, man. I'm down.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, you got the offense today. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you think. You always do. So appreciate you guys. Terry, any final thoughts, man?
Nothing. Just me and Mike are gonna kick back up the Fans Edge this week on Wednesday nights. So make sure you guys check that out. 7:30.
I enjoy listening to that. I usually listen to it on Twitter and just kind of put the phone in my ear because that's during snack and bedtime for my kids. But you guys do a good job. So definitely check that out.
I appreciate it, man. That's all I got, brother.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you again, Terry. Appreciate you as well. Guys, enjoy the weekend. Stay safe out there. And as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.